Hello and welcome to CLEA'S world. I am Clea, and today I would like to share with you more of the information I've received from the 25th dimension during my last QHHT Hypnosis session. I'll be reading from a transcript of the session, and when I refer to Lorrayne, I'm speaking of my practitioner who's asking me questions I prepared in advance of the session, and when I refer to me, I'm speaking of myself under hypnosis, which means the answers are coming from the 25th. Before I start reading, I would like to thank you, as always, for subscribing, liking, and commenting. It really makes a difference for me just to see the interaction and to know that our community is going strong, and I really appreciate it. All right, I'm going to start reading here. Lorrayne. Clea says, I've been having dreams where numbers were given to me, like the number 17 on March 9, which brings me to March 25th or 26th. And then the number 16 on March 13th, which brings me to March 29th or to the 16th of April. On March 16th, Kath, and she's one of our community members, was given the number 12, which takes us to March 28th. Are these numbers about the recall? It seems like a countdown, but my countdown went down by one number from 17 to 16 over 4 days in 3D reality. So it's not quite so straightforward. Can you please explain what these numbers are about and how we should interpret the passage of time, considering that the quote-unquote timeline is based on our emotions in regard to creating our reality? Me. Yeah, so it is a countdown in the sense that these dreams are showing you you're getting closer to completion. But no, it's correct. It's not like it means days. So 17 days, 16 days, or whatever it is. It's just a countdown. It's a way of showing you we're getting closer. But the amount of time it takes is the amount of time it takes you, because there is no timeline. So yes, this is not a timeline. It's correct. It is based on our emotions. And this is just to show us that we are doing the work and we are getting closer. Lorrayne, thank you. Next question. Do other 3D planets have average lifespans similar to ours, while higher vibrational planets that have more fun games have longer lifespans? If the average varies from planet to planet, what is the average in the multiverse, or the most popular lifespan length? Do we have relatively short lifespans on this planet because we get so tired so quickly of the darkness in one life and we want to move on? The 25th was laughing here. Or why do we set it up this way here, especially when in previous recess, there were supposedly people who lived hundreds of years? Me. Yeah, and they were still laughing. That's a very entertaining question. Yeah, so actually Clay's onto something. Yeah, the average lifespan within the multiverse is about 300 years, an average among all the myriad of planets that exist. And there are planets that have, where the civilization has thousands, will live for thousands of years. And we already said there are planets where the population, the civilization, is not even incarnated. So they will live basically, again, thousands of years, because after thousands of years, they will decide, okay, I'm done here. They will not know necessarily. It's not like New Earth where we will decide to say, okay, I'm ready to move on. They will just say, okay, this is the normal lifespan, and yeah, okay, I'm getting ready to leave. However, they see that passage as being. It might be much more conscious than we have here when we die and we pretend that it's something that's happening to us, but it is the same concept. So on average, it's 300 years. Now, most of these planets believe the reason they live that long is because they have technology that keeps them healthy, keeps them young, that kind of thing. They don't necessarily tell themselves, we choose to live, 300 or 400 years, 500 years, whatever it is. Generally speaking, different dimensions will have longer lifespans. So as you become more of what they would think of themselves, how in the Matrix we like to believe that higher vibrational planets have higher consciousness levels, relatively speaking, yes, we do see this. We do see that as you go up in vibration, people live longer. Now, why is that? This is part of the game. We set this up. And we set this up to say that you can control the length of your life, basically. If you're in a higher vibration, you're healthier. You are more in control of your energetic makeup, whatever it is, again, within the rules of the game. So you wouldn't think, oh, I'm immortal, I'm my higher self, that kind of thing. And not only, but this is how we explain it to ourselves. In the lower vibrational planets, so for example, 3D planets, we think, yeah, they live less time because the energy is so dense, whatever explanation we give ourselves. The truth is, we've obviously set up the game this way. It doesn't have to work this way. We could have had lifespans of 10,000 years on this planet. But see, the point of being in 3D, why do we have, which is part of Clea's question, Why do we have such short lifespans compared to the average or to aliens that live hundreds of years? Especially when on this same planet, we had resets where we lived a very, very long time. In fact, Claire is referring probably later in the question to people in the Bible that we know lived for hundreds, 900 years, 1,000 years. It wasn't just these randos, it wasn't just these individuals that lived that long. People lived much longer. So first of all, this lifespan is part of this reset, and it has been part of a couple of resets before, but it's very much a part of a reset, okay? When we set up these NPC bodies, we could go either way. We could go longer if we wanted to. We didn't set them up to last. We should rephrase this. We never envisioned to be in the same NPC for hundreds and hundreds of years, or thousands of years, or forever. We always wanted them to have, quote unquote, an expiration date, or we knew, because the NPC technically, again, the higher self decides. So the NPC could live forever, technically, if the higher self decided that's what it wants to do. But we never wanted to play a game where these NPC bodies last forever. So we set them up a certain way, but really the lifespan is based on an accepted decision we made, an idea we've had, which is on this planet at this time, people live only 85 years on average, whatever that is. In the past, what we call the previous resets, we did have initially, for example, much longer lifespans. Now, this is all part of how we want to think of things. We already said at 3D level, why do we have a lower average? Because at 3D level, we want to believe that we are very much victims, that we are very much unsafe, and we are very much vulnerable. So you see all these ideas. What do they bring you to is like, oh, this body really doesn't last that long. This body is really so fragile, right? And so it all works together. So we have set this up this way. Even on planet Earth, for example, it doesn't have to be this way, and it hasn't always been this way. But when you really want to separate yourself from thinking that you are in charge, it's a really easy thing to say, these bodies are failing us, and they fail us so quickly. So that's why we have such short lifespans. At the same time, though, it has worked for us because it's been so dark here that it does also serve the purpose of saying, well, I'm reincarnating and I'm going to change my experience because maybe you didn't like that so much. So it does serve our purposes in many different ways. So yeah, of course, as you know, as Clea knows, we set this up so there's not something that is just happening to us or because it's the way it is. And yeah, I mean, it does serve also the purpose of changing experience very quickly. Now, we said on average, we've only been on this planet about 10 times. And so we've had the ability, though, in these on average 10 incarnations apiece for every essence that's been here since the beginning, the opportunity to do a lot of different things and experience different things. So it helps us. It also helps us in the sense that all the essences that have come in and that wanted to try different things because we knew we were taking this down, we learned that we're going to take this down a while ago. We have the opportunity to have different experiences in a very short amount of time. We generally are not interested in accelerating things because we already said we want to squeeze out these experiences as long as possible because we're not in a rush. In fact, the opposite. We're trying to fill time. But in this particular case on planet Earth, this has been the opposite really, because this planet will not always be available. Now, it will be available because everything remains available, but it's not going to be a new experience for us. So as a new experience, we're trying to have as much as we can in a short period of time. Lorraine, thank you. Okay, do animals on alien planets, like cats, for example, also have similar lifespans, those here? Me. Yeah, so they also live longer on other planets because, again, we don't have to have the idea. We're not going to collectively, and there is no collective, meaning as a group, as a civilization, we are not going to together hold this idea that everything is very fragile here. And again, they have technology to keep them healthy. They just have this idea that they live a long time, a longer time than here on Earth. And on New Earth, of course, our cats and dogs and whatever, they will live thousands of years. They will live forever. And then they'll decide when they're ready to move on, because all of us eventually are going to be tired of the vacation. I can't even imagine that moment coming, but I trust that it will. Like all good things, at some point, they just become too much. So we'll go back into the washer and start a new cycle. Lorraine, I don't know. I'm looking forward to the vacation. I don't know that I'll grow tired of it. On the 25th, and Lorraine, we're laughing. All right, thank you. If the essence is gone, what do NPCs dream about, or how and why do they dream? Me. Yeah, so the NPC has all the same experiences as a body with an essence in it. We already said that the difference between an NPC and a body with an essence is simply that the essence can steer the action so that it is in charge of what happens, because the essence creates the reality. The NPC does not do that. NPCs do not create reality. And so the NPC kind of goes along. That's what we mean when we say it flows, right? It goes with the flow, keeps doing whatever it was doing before. There's no intention behind anything that it does. However, they do have the same experiences that we would associate with being here, because we are interested in maintaining the shell in place. So we do want the NPCs to follow along and do what everybody else is doing. So even when we only had 300 million NPCs compared to 1.7 billion bodies with essences here, we didn't want the NPCs to stick out. So of course, if they're going to do, for example, plant medicine, they're also going to have an experience that to them is going to feel like, oh, I got high, or whatever it is. But whereas we, for example, with essences, Clea is doing plant medicine and she's becoming source, and everybody who does plant medicine of any sort or any sort of experience or hypnosis connects to whatever they need to connect to. And we said it's always within the matrix, okay? We're only now allowing the connection to happen. We only recently allowed information, the aware connection with the 25th, where we come back and say, hey, I'm speaking with the 25th. What's the 25th? What's happening? We never heard of the 25th before, right? And so, yeah, we'll just continue this because, again, even when you say you do have an essence, you're doing plant medicine or you're doing hypnosis, what's happening in that case is your higher self is saying, here's the information I want to give you. But the NPC by itself can have an experience, whether it's relaxation, meditation, hypnosis, plant medicine, any type of drugs. And they will also, based on what they expect, be transported. They will also have the energy change, because this is all we're doing when we say that you're changing vibration, you're changing consciousness. That's what's happening. Your energy is changing. So they will also have different experiences from the everyday. But it doesn't mean they're not going to be bringing in information from the 25th for sure. So for example, say it was somebody who was channeling before and now this person is gone. They'll continue going through the motions. They'll believe they keep channeling the same information, right? And so in that sense, the NPC very much can continue behaving, and they do continue behaving the way they were before. So if you have, for example, if they dream, they're used to dreams, they'll continue dreaming. It doesn't mean they're doing work. It's not a dream like, so what are our dreams? We are doing work, right? That's what we do. Our higher self is all over the place. And then it's bringing us back snippets of things that help us understand our reality, to tell us what is going on and tell us what the higher self has been up to. And of course, we promptly disregard them and forget them. And they were laughing here. So the NPCs are doing the same thing. They're still having dreams. They mean nothing. They're not dictated or guided by the higher self. It's just what they continue doing. Just like, even when people did have essences many times, or even now, as we said, people might still believe they're channeling, but really there's no essence there. So it's not really, where are they bringing in? They're just bringing in more of the same, right? That's why we have, for example, we always talk about these people on YouTube, for example. We have all these messages. Unless they are old videos, these are NPCs telling you these things. And again, the NPC can do that. We do want everything to remain fairly the same, to look fairly like it did in the past, but it's just, they're empty. The people are empty. The messages are empty. There's nothing there. So yeah, the NPCs will continue doing these things. It doesn't mean they're getting guidance or that is something that they're getting from their higher self. Lorraine, thank you. Now, you just answered this portion, but I'm going to read it because Clea wrote it. Also, how do they do QHHT and BQH sessions? Who are the NPCs connecting to? And if they get high, where are they going? Me. Yeah, so we have already answered. We'll just say, though, they're not connecting. They're not connecting to anything. And this was happening even before. Many people who already spoken about this. Many people who said they were channeling. They were not connected to anything. They were just, this is the experience they wanted to have. They wanted to say they were channeling, but they weren't connected to anything. And you see that because even with QHHT, Clea's boyfriend had a QHHT session and connected to his higher self. Even his higher self didn't give him some information that turned out to be correct, for the simple reason that he had a vested interest, and the higher self will bring you what you are ready for. Even if the higher self is bringing you something, you will still filter it if you don't want to know it. Just like with dreams, the higher self can tell you whatever he wants in dreams. You promptly forget the dream. Done. No problem. It never happened. So it's all the same, right? So we hope we answered your question. They're not connecting, basically. Just because you're doing QHHT doesn't mean you're connecting to anything. Or if you're connecting to your higher self, doesn't mean you're interpreting or bringing in everything your higher self wants you to know. Your higher self, because your higher self is you, it knows you. It knows what you can handle and what not. The higher self might bring you a tiny little bit, and it might want it shrouded in the matrix. That's why a lot of information we get through QHHT is matrix beliefs, more matrix beliefs, the Council of 12, whatever it is, whatever people call it, Magenta Pixie calls it, whatever, the White Council, whatever that was. It's all fine. There is no judgment whatsoever. We did not want the information. We did not want the truth. We did not want information from the 25th to be available. We did not want this information to be available. We said this many, many times. So if Clea had done QHHT 5 years ago, for example, she would have not connected with us. We had not decided it would be acceptable for this information to be available. And it's funny because this is how we align with things. 5 years ago, I would have not been available. I mean, it was far from being available to do something like this. I would have not even thought about it, even though I've never thought about QHHT or any type of hypnosis as in being something necessarily spiritual. I just thought it's like therapy is something you do, right? I'm just thinking, I'm relaxed. It's not like, I know there are people that start clucking like, like chickens or whatever, but I've always known this is made up. It's really you're allowing things to happen. So it's very interesting they're bringing this up because again, everything happens at the time when you are ready to let it happen. So this very much resonates with me. Lorraine, thank you. Okay. You said animals have no veil. Did the animals that left planet Earth prior to the original takedown timeline to go to 3D chambers or alien planets know the timeline and acted accordingly? Me. Yes, like all essences now. They knew the timeline and acted accordingly. Lorraine, do the animals that have stayed behind to wait for us to go to New Earth know why we are still here and are they okay with it? It seems that even if they had not been okay staying here longer, they wouldn't have had much of a choice because we decided to all go to New Earth together. So what could an essence who wanted to go to New Earth do? They either had to stay or quote unquote pass away and go somewhere else. So was this decision to stay taken by majority rule and whoever didn't want to stay have to change their plans? Me. No, Claire's always concerned that somebody was forced, but no, they know perfectly well what they're doing. They're hanging out with us. It was their choice. That's why they come into our life, to be with us, especially our pets, but also other animals that are still here. They do want to go to New Earth, and they're waiting for all of us to go to New Earth. We agreed from the beginning we would all go together. That's why there's no one on New Earth right now. And so that's fine. Nobody's being forced. When we came up with the idea, nobody had to support it, but we ended up supporting it. If we had not supported it, we would have all gone. The 12,000 would have not stayed behind. Claire would have not stayed behind. And she's not the only one who came up with the idea, obviously, but she would not stay behind by herself. The 12,000 would have not stayed behind by themselves. And so, yeah, we all agreed. There was nobody being forced. So they would not be in the situation where what could they have done if they really wanted to leave. We made a group decision is what we did. This actually made me happy that nobody's being forced to do anything. So I hope you enjoyed this video and I'll see you in the next one. Thank you as always for watching. Bye-bye.